All right, season 5. Now for me in the show, this is where the show really does start to pick up. It's like season 5 to the very end. This is my favorite part of the TV show Smallville. I mean, granted, I do like the high school years a bit. It's just there was just a lot of high school drama that just got really annoying and just got under my skin, and there are just a bunch of skippable episodes that for me it just didn't work as much as season 5 onward did. I mean, granted, there are some questionable seasons down the road after season 5, but I try not to think about it a little bit too much. I'll get to them in another review, but let's get on with this one. So season 5 starts off. There has been another meteor shower that landed in Smallville, and the Fortress of Solitude is here. Clark is now learning about his heritage from Krypton, of course, and now he's going through the trials. The Jor-El trials, in my mind, I did like the idea of Clark going through trials by Jor-El to turn him into the man that he is going to be one day, because we do not want an injustice lore down the road. Of course, you gotta put Clark through these tests in order to mold him into the man that he is going to be one day, aka Superman. So I did like the tests. I just wish that they were explained a little bit more so Clark would know a little bit more what to do when it comes to these trials. But anyway, in one of these trials, he loses his superpowers. He doesn't have anymore. He's basically a normal human being, and he uses this opportunity to start a relationship with Lana Lang. And this is where things get a little bit juicy, because this is when Clark and Lana finally lose their virginities. And I'm sitting there going, they now just lost their virginity. I mean, there are so many moments in the high school years where I thought to myself, yeah, you were doing more than just making out. Like, for example, in season 2, there was an episode where Lana shows up at his loft in his barn with a birthday cake. It is 7 minutes to midnight, as they explained in that episode. And she asks him to make a wish, and he says he wished that he had her, and he brought out his feelings to her and everything, and they start making out. Later on down that episode, Lana is talking to Chloe, and Chloe says, "So, where have you been till 2 in the morning?" And I'm just sitting there going, I know what they're doing. I know what they were doing. I mean, I guess the writers wanted them to be the good kids of high school, and that they didn't do any fooling around or all such. But it's high school. This is where a lot of kids deal with. Not all teenagers are angels, parents. I am sorry. But still though, there are several moments where I'm thinking to myself, they're doing more than just making out. They are not virgins in season 5. That just sounds very, very awkward when I really think about it. But also when that trial ends, and then there are problems in the relationship. It's just the whole shabam and all such. But that is all resolved in one episode in what I believe is one of the best episodes of season 5. He finally tells Lana his secret and all such. But I'm just sitting there going, Lana, how have you not figured it out already? Because she finally finds out about his superpowers, where he comes from. She sees the fortress and all such. And I'm sitting there going, how many questions are going through your head right now, Lana? Just like a billion of them, probably, that you could barely think of. And then finally he crushes a piece of coal, and there's a little diamond there. He puts it on a ring, and he asks her to marry him. And I'm sitting there going, Clark, she has 800 questions going through her head right now. You just brought her one question that is basically the biggest question of her entire life. You are putting so much pressure on her as it is. But anyway, the episode moves on. Something tragic happens, and then time travel is introduced in this episode, and Jor-El warns Clark that there are consequences when it comes to time travel. I absolutely love that. You can't just really go back in time, solve something, and expect everything to be hunky-dory later on down the road. It just doesn't work out that way. That's the basics of time travel. Otherwise, everyone would want to time travel. As Dr. Emmett Brown once said, that it could destroy the entire universe. Except they ignore that fact in the first Superman movie when I really think about it. But anyway, the time travel is introduced. Everything seems to be fine except for the fact that a few changes were made here and there, which in my mind it didn't really have to change. He could have just done one thing and everything would just been resolved just like that. But then the tragic moment happens. And when that tragic moment happens, it hits very hard. I have not felt that type of pain since the Ryan episode of season 2. So there are a lot of episodes like that in season 5, and I do applaud this season for that. And another thing that I have noticed in the show is that the relationship between Clark and Lex Luthor, it's starting to fracture. It's starting to fall apart. I knew it was going to happen eventually down the road. They've had their hits and misses for most of these seasons, but this is the one where it's now hanging by a thread and it's about to snap and everything. And another thing that Lex Luthor does for most of this season is that he is now working with Lana Lang and trying to work out this spaceship that landed in the second meteor shower. And this spaceship had alien people in it, Kryptonians, that are talking about Zod. As soon as I heard the name Zod, I got really excited. But Zod is not really the main focus or the main villain of this season. So I did like the idea of Lex and Lana working together. I did not like the idea of them being in a relationship. I mean, just because you have a man and a woman working together doesn't automatically mean that they are love interests. That there's more to life than just making everybody a love interest. But no, I thought for a second that the main villain of this season was going to be Zod, because Zod has a very interesting lore. In the original movies, Zod is basically the warrior, the enemy of Krypton, and he was thrown into the Phantom Zone for his crimes and all such, and that led to the destruction of Krypton by Jor-El standards, even though nobody believed him. And in Man of Steel, the destruction of the planet is definitely known, and Zod was the military leader that is trying to take out the leaders of Krypton, because they were the ones that caused the destruction of Krypton. He would literally do anything for the protection or the continuation of Krypton. That is everything that General Zod is. What this show actually does is explain a little bit more about his lore. He's not just a general that led Krypton's armies. He was basically the one that wanted to see everyone to see him as a god, as a actual leader of Krypton, to lead Krypton into a better future. But this war that happened was the reason why Krypton was destroyed in the first place. I wanted this show to explain that a little bit more, and it so does down the road, and I applaud the show for doing that. But no, the main villain of this season is Brainiac. As soon as Brainiac comes onto the screen, I almost lost it. I mean, in the very beginning, he acts like a normal person. He's just a college teacher that is teaching Clark in college and everything. And I thought really nothing much of him. He's not friends with Lex Luthor. That's all I'm reading on this guy. But as soon as the wires come out of his fingers and he is starting to control people, I'm thinking to myself, is this Brainiac? And yeah, it actually is Brainiac. Brainiac is basically the T-800 meets the T-1000 meets Kryptonian technology. So you know that Brainiac is absolutely bad news. And I didn't just want Zod or Lex Luthor to be the only known Superman villains to be in the show. I kind of wanted to see a lot more villains that Superman has to deal with. And I do like the idea that they didn't really push all of the main villains in the first few seasons, and Clark has to deal with them that later on we do with the villains that nobody really knows about. They waited for a long time to finally get to other villains that is well known in the Superman lore, and I do applaud the show for that. So I gotta say, Season 5 is a major step up. It would basically be Season 1, then there'll be Season 2, and then there will be Season 3 and Season 4, and then there's Season 5. Season 5 is a lot better than Season 2 in my mind, and Season 5 is definitely classic. So guys, Smallville Season 5, have you seen it? What did you think of it? Whatever you thought, comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.